Hi everybody and welcome to Lost Genre, Ask Reddit, where we will take a look at the question. George Carlin said, "Think of how stupid the average person is and realize half of them are stupider than that. What real-life example have you seen that validates this view?" False alarm everyone says, "There's a considerable overlap between the intelligence of the smartest bears and the dumbest tourist. A Yosemite park ranger on why it's hard to design bear-proof garbage cans." So at this point, I'm just picturing somebody not being able to open a trash can that probably has written instructions on how to open it because it's bear-proof and they're just too lazy to read, man. Oh god. Flying a Desk says, "I used to work in Banff National Park. One day at the end of the tour, I was driving some guests back to their hotel, and a woman was adamant that Banff was clearly a very dangerous place to visit since just let wild animals run around everywhere. They should be in cages." Had to fight the urge to throw her off the bus pretty hard. Well, lady, I think you're confusing a park, which is an open space, with a zoo. So you're probably in the wrong place if you were expecting for cages with animals. bclay85 says, "I worked at a bank. Mobile depositing had just become a thing. We received a picture of someone's cash for deposit." Yeah. Alright. Hypersapien says, "A woman I used to work with who insisted that any animal could reproduce with any other animal. She believed that sperm from any animal was the same and that DNA was irrelevant. She believed this because she once saw some sickly, possibly deformed puppies and decided that they must have been half dog, half rat." Oh my god, okay, I don't know if this is just ignorance or... Yeah, it's definitely ignorance. It's gotta be just ignorance. Foolhardy Ass says, "The fact Florida had to tell people not to shoot at the hurricane." That's just sad. Oh man. Shooting at a hurricane. Oh, okay. Sorry. Let's move on. Daniela42157 says, "One of my nieces had a cold as a toddler and was breathing through her mouth. My ex-brother-in-law flipped out because he didn't want her to get carbon monoxide poisoning from breathing through her mouth instead of her nose the normal way." Oh, that's sad. Imagine growing up as that kid and then realizing your dad is kinda dumb. Poor kid. Estrogen says, "I teach 6th grade. One time a parent came to me after trying to help their child with math homework and asked, 'What number is X worth? It feels like it changes with every problem.'" Oh man. Oh, another disappointed child. Another disappointed child, that's sad. Krabby Patty 795 says, "I worked at Little Caesars and we were proofing the dough for pizza. My boss said at 7 p.m. that the dough needed to rise for 12 hours and took out her calculator to do the math. So I said, that's gonna be 7 a.m. And she said the dough will expire in 48 hours and started doing the math again. I told her it will expire in 2 days from now. And she said, 'That's kind of weird how that works out, huh?'" And that was the boss. Let's move on. Toady9622 says, "I'm an insurance claims adjuster. If you truly knew how many stupid drivers you're sharing the road with, you'd never drive again." Oh, that's a really nice tip. So on that, we have PolyP13 actually back that up. "I work in highway safety. Can confirm. I can no longer count on 2 hands the number of people I've stopped with in the middle lane of traffic on a freeway with no bigger problem than a flat tire. When I question them as to why they stopped in the middle of a freeway, the typical answer is either the vehicle wouldn't go any further or they don't want to damage their rim. I swear to whatever you want me to swear to. People will put the well-being of the rim on their car above their own safety and even the safety of their children." Wow, that's not funny at all. That's just dangerous. I can't speak for everybody, but I remember when I was learning to drive, one of the first road safety things they would teach us was if you ever have a flat tire or any car problem, you always try to take your car to the side and avoid oncoming traffic. Yikes. Alright, let's move on. Sublime81 says, at the start of working from home due to COVID, I had a few users submit tickets for connectivity issues. These tickets got through 2 lines of support before landing in my queue. Turns out that the corporate Wi-Fi doesn't follow you home and you need home internet in order to connect to the VPN. You would think that corporate Wi-Fi stays with your laptop so you can move your laptop everywhere and still connect. 1921 Celio says, in grade 10 we had a science test and the teacher gave 1 point for putting a date on the paper and 1 point for putting your name on the paper. And then there were 98 points for the rest of the test. A guy sitting in front of me got 0.5 out of 100. Didn't write the date and only wrote his first name. Wow, it's like he went out of his way to fail even harder. I mean, come on, it's 2 points. You have absolute 2 points guaranteed just by following simple instructions. And you don't even do that. Oh man. Replayee says, the woman that called into a radio station to complain about the deer crossing signs on a highway, saying that the deer will see the sign and consider this place safe place to cross the road. And there's a YouTube link. I'm gonna add the link in the description. I'm gonna go just check out the video for a sec. It's hilarious. You gotta go check that out after you finish this video. But let me just put a little snippet so you get the gist.
I've been involved in 3 separate car accidents involving deer.
Mm-hmm.
With the population and everything. Each of these incidents, they've occurred shortly after I saw a deer crossing sign on the highway. Why are we encouraging deer to cross at the interstate? I don't get it. That's such a high traffic area.
You seem to be under the misunderstanding that the deer are somehow attracted to the deer crossing sign.
Well, yeah, the deer crossing sign is there to allow the deer to know that's where they need to cross.
Right. And all these car accidents you had involved a deer after you'd saw a deer crossing sign.
Exactly.
I don't know if she's trolling the radio guy, but she sounds incredibly serious. Oh man. Let's continue. Lucky Phoenix 64 says, in the 80s, A&W attempted to compete with McDonald's Quarter Pounder Burger by selling a third pounder for the same price. The operation failed tremendously, with virtually no one buying the burger. When they surveyed customers for an explanation, the majority of customers responded that they didn't want to pay the same price for less meat. Their customers genuinely believed that 1/3 was less than 1/4 and refused to try the new AW burger because of it. Oh, that sucks. Sev2101 says, knew a kid who drank bleach to prove it wouldn't kill you. A week later, he showed up at school after taking a shot. He said he proved his point. When the teacher asked why he was bragging about it, Mr. Hawk just said, but you cannot argue that without that medical treatment, you'd have died though. You even said you have stomach damage and a burned esophagus yourself. This kid was bragging about that. He was not mentally disabled or otherwise. He was just that kind of idiot. Now Wheezy says, was at a party and someone's crappy old truck got stuck in some mud, so instead of sobering up and coming back the next day, he makes a Molotov cocktail with gas and throws it at the truck. The truck caught fire and was completely destroyed. Oh really? What was he expecting? I guess there's idiots and then there's also idiots who are more stupid when they're drunk. JM Bolsonaro says, myself, looking for my phone when it was in my hand all the time, then answering a call and continue looking for it during the call. That's autopilot idiot. MT Bull says, when I was in high school, we were reading a short story about what would have happened if the Japanese attacked us back with nuclear weapons after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. A girl in my class raised her hand and said something along the lines of, why does it matter? None of it is real anyway. The teacher had to ask her to clarify, but this girl thought World War II and the bombing of Japan were just from a movie and didn't actually happen. Oh, the best part? The girl was half Japanese? Oh wow, come on. That's also ignorance. That's not just stupidity, that's ignorance. Trump has dementia says, a former co-worker was talking about how she wanted to go back to school to get her master's degree because she only had a bachelorette degree and wanted more bachelorette. Sorry. Just read through that one. And wanted more job opportunities. I said, do you mean bachelor's degree? She insisted it was pronounced bachelorette when it was given to a woman. Then she led me back to her office and pointed to her diploma to the word baccalaureate and said, see, bachelorette. I think this lady needs to go get another bachelorette degree in English or something. 2112 user says, I worked with a lady who was remarking on how a friend of hers had lost a bunch of weight. She pondered, I wonder how many Diet Cokes she had to drink to do that. What? Okay. That voice dude says, customers arguing that their tattoo is backwards while their artist tries to explain that no, your tattoo is fine. It just looks backwards because that's how mirrors work. That's sad. Kinda Rusty says, about half the calls I take on a daily basis. People call 911 to ask whether Walmart is open, to report that they didn't get enough mayo on their burger, to complain that cleanup at a fatality wreck is taking too long. All sorts of silly, out-of-touch crap. Granted, there is probably some level of mental illness and or substance abuse present in those calls, but still, yeah, I mean, dude, not getting enough mayo on your burger is a crime, and if 911 can't take those calls, then who will? Too Many Plant Friends says, I used to manage a retail store that sold teen clothing, so as expected, I primarily had teens working for me. One employee came to the back room while I was on break and asked what I was eating. Somehow, the topic turned to how I should have brought chicken for lunch because she wanted chicken. I told her I was vegetarian and therefore don't eat meat. She tells me, chicken is not meat, it's poultry, and vegetarians can eat poultry. She said at the grocery store the aisles list meat and poultry separately, so they're obviously different. We argued for a couple of minutes before I finally told her to go back to the sales floor. She didn't last at that job. But damn. Wolf S93 says, one of my closest friends, really good guy, but well, I'm learning Spanish, and I once told him I was reading this Don Quixote book. I complained about how difficult it was because it was written in 1605, and he said, wait, Spanish existed back then? And with that, we are going to reach the end of this video. So I really hoped you liked it, and if you did, go ahead and click like underneath it like usual, and stick around for more content. I'll see you guys on the next video.